Good morning, YouTube friends and family. I say morning, it's about 2 o'clock as I'm recording this. I'm driving all night tonight. I got a 6 a.m. delivery. It's just part of the deal, I guess. So I did not do a review of the load board tonight. This video is going to be kind of geared towards the box truck guys. I get a lot of questions about box trucks. Let me start by saying I do not own or operate box trucks. I have semi trucks, and sorry, I'm kind of like that pickup truck. I'm kind of like that dog. Something just moved, and I couldn't help but stare. I'm coming into Houston, Texas, and there's a fuel station at $2.45 a gallon. I did a double take and thought about stopping, but I'm only down about 40 gallons. It's not hardly worth the stop. Anyway, so I'm going to give a little commentary opinion on some of my concerns, why I would not get into box trucks myself. And at the end of the video, or the next clip, I'm going to go through the load board. So those of you that have that interest to see what the rates are like, stick around for my opinion, my commentary, and you'll see some load board pricing, and I'll kind of demonstrate why my opinion is the way it is. So stick around for it. I know some of you, just because it says box truck and Amazon, you're going to stumble across my video for the first time, and you don't know me, you don't know, you haven't seen any of my other videos, and you're probably going to click away. But if what you're really interested is to see what the rates are like, that'll come later in the video. But what I did want to kind of explain, and the concern I have, is primarily geared towards the fact that the box truck is a very specialized and limited segment of the market. And so the simple example, Los Angeles, you would think, is a pretty active market. I'll open it up in a little bit and show you guys what's there. But in my mind, the majority of the loads leaving Los Angeles go to Las Vegas, 300 plus miles away. And yeah, the loads, I haven't checked today, but the last time I looked, they were like $400. And so $400 to go to Las Vegas, and Amazon doesn't have any loads leaving Las Vegas. So $400 to get there. Now what? You gonna check another load board? I'll try that in a little bit and see what it looks like. People have asked me when I post reviews on other applications, XPO, Convoy. Uber's been my friend lately. Uber's had some really good rates. But as you look at these different load boards, the question always comes up, do they work with 26-foot box truck? And here's the short answer to that. Most companies do work with 26-foot box trucks. Here's the thing. Their application isn't typically set up to filter for 26-foot box truck. That's almost exclusively a Amazon thing, because they want to price you down according to the fact that you're providing a smaller truck. And so when you look at other load boards, there isn't typically going to be a filter. There may be one or two, and I haven't seen it yet, but there typically isn't going to be a filter for just box truck. What you're going to have to do is filter to find partial loads, and if they have enough filters, then do a filter for the weight. Those of you guys that are running non-CDL trucks, you're probably limited to somewhere between, I'm going to guess, 10 and 11,000 pounds in payload. That's just my guess. If it's a 26,000 pound GVW truck, you probably weigh 13 to 15,000 pounds empty. Again, it's an educated guess. I'm familiar with trucks, even though I've never owned a box truck. So then you're gonna be limited to that. How much payload you can put in it and the size. So if you call, a broker and say, hey, I'm calling about this partial, they're gonna say, yeah, it's, 2,300 pounds, it's 4 pallets, and because it's a partial, they're gonna pay it very cheap because they're expecting you to put that load with something else, and you're gonna be like, holy cow, that's cheap. And then when you tell them, well, I have a box truck, they'll still give you the load, but they're not gonna price it up just because you have a box truck. You're still gonna be looking at $1 a mile because they're expecting that to go in the back of a dry van like mine with 2 or 3 other loads for you to make the rate you want. Anyway, so that's my first concern. How do you get back to your point of origin, wherever you live? So I live 60 miles north of Los Angeles. The majority of the box loads leaving LA are like in the Inland Empire, Miraloma, Ontario, that kind of thing. And so if I'm gonna provide a box truck, I either need to park it in Miraloma and drive back and forth every day. It's about 80 miles. Or I need to sleep in the truck and stay there in the truck until I get work. And so fine, I sleep in the truck I'm in now. That's not, for me, it's not that big a deal. Granted, I've got a sleeper. So now that you figured out you're gonna sleep in your truck and grab loads out of LA, so you take a load to, let's just say, Bakersfield. Bakersfield, if you can find a load going there, isn't bad because Bakersfield sometimes has loads leaving. Well, let's just say you don't find any that day. Do you grab a load going to Vegas? And if you do, how do you get back from Vegas? How do you find a load leaving Vegas? So if a load pays $400 going to Vegas, but you have to come back empty because you can't find anything, you didn't make $400, you made $200 each way. So now you're talking about 600 miles for $400. Think about that for a minute. So that's my concern with box trucks. How do you get, logistically, how do you get enough money for your mile to cover your expense? There's the issue of, are you going to sleep in the truck? So that maybe you better buy yourself a crew cab or you can convert the back. That's an idea. I've seen where some guys have converted a part of the box itself into a sleeper. Not a bad idea. But of course, if you're going to do that, you want to get a newer one so that the truck will last you long enough that you can recover that expense. You're going to need a generator. You're going to need something to heat it. You're going to need something to cool it. You're going to need to build your bed. You're going to need to insulate it. You're going to need to carpet it. You could do a rubber mat if you don't want carpet. And I guess some of you that are, out where it snows and whatnot, maybe that's a better idea. At that point, doing a microwave, that's a cheap expense. So that's one way to do it, but you're going to sacrifice some of the size of the truck. So logistically, that's my concern. How do you actually make money? And I know there's a bunch of people making YouTube videos that are saying they're making a killing. I made $2,000 in 2 loads. They make these great videos, but you have to remember, for a lot of these people, YouTube is a business. They're selling videos. That's a thing to consider. They're selling videos. Every time you click on it and watch, they're making money. And so they want you to tell another friend, hey, check out this guy's video. This is how much money he says he can make. He just got another click because he said what you wanted to hear. My videos aren't a bed of roses. I'm not trying to sell people anything. I tell people what it is, and sometimes it's not what people want to hear. You know, my thing is, I would hate to see an individual that's working at a job save up, 20 grand of their hard-earned cash to go buy themselves a box truck and have enough money to buy their insurance to activate their authority, only to find that, they're in the truck and their net profit ends up being, $600 a week. And you were making more money at your job that you quit to come and do this thing. That's why I make my videos, not to discourage people. So that's concern number one. The second thing is, if I were to actually go out and buy one of these things, I wouldn't go out and buy a Penske or a Ryder or a U-Haul truck. And you guys are gonna think it's a particular reason why, but it's not the reason you think. It's not because it was a rental and because I think it got destroyed by the person driving it. It's not that. Enterprise is another one that does them. In my other business in the oil field, I bought a ton of pickup trucks from Hertz, believe it or not. Before Hertz went bankrupt, they had Hertz car sales, and I would buy pickup trucks with 20, 30,000 miles on them, for $26,000. A truck that is still in the same model year and 26,000 bucks, and the MSRP sticker was 50,000. Yeah, I bought those. I'm sticking them in the oil field anyway, so so what if they have a scratch or two on them? Anyway, so I wouldn't buy those. I know I kind of went on a tangent about the Hertz thing, but I wouldn't buy those trucks mainly because they buy them with very low horsepower motors. That's going to be the thing. Very low horsepower. Now, if you are in a market where it's flat, your surrounding terrain is flat, you don't have a lot of uphill, and the loads are very short, 50 miles, okay, I get it. But for example, if I were to buy a truck and I was going to have to do, let's just say, for example, Los Angeles to Las Vegas, there's a lot of hills there. And if you get your typical, international with 180 horse motor, and it's probably an automatic because it was a rental, now all of a sudden you're doing 25 to 30 miles an hour climbing the hills because the thing's gutless. I would try and find myself something with no less than 250 horse. Automatic or not is kind of a given. Automatics are less fatiguing, you don't get as tired, and so that's all fine and dandy. Me personally, if I could find something with a 7-speed and 300 horse, that would be ideal. You're probably going to spend more money, but you'll be much happier because you'll be climbing those grades really close to what freeway speed is. And now you're thinking to yourself, hey, well, these other guys are making money. Yeah, they're making money. But think about every time you go up a hill, think about the trucks that are barely moving up the hill. You're going to be that guy. You're going to be that guy taking, Vegas is a little over 4 hours from LA. You're going to be taking 6.5 in your truck that's doing 30 miles an hour going uphill. Something to consider. I'd make sure I got something equipped that way, and if you really get lucky, find one with air ride suspension. Your back will thank you for it. Anyway, so that's kind of a little feedback from me in terms of box truck operations, guys. Like I say, I've never operated a box truck, but I know enough about trucks to know I would not want an Enterprise or you know, a U-Haul or any of those types of trucks for this, unless it was all really short hauls, 50 miles max. And like I said, my other concern is getting yourself home. Anyways, the next clip will be looking at some of the markets and what the rates are, and you know, I'll go through a couple different markets. I'll start with LA because that's kind of where I'm familiar. Anyways, thanks for watching. All right, guys. So getting back to the box truck thing, again, I know there's a lot of interest. I know a lot of people, you know, want to get into that. Again, I think it probably has to do with the fact that it's the cheapest to get into, probably also the least complex, just in terms of, you know, the equipment you need. You know, what are we talking about? We're talking about a vehicle that's basically one step up from a pickup truck. So, for example, if you're talking about a Ford, you go from an F550 to an F650, and all of a sudden you have a 26-foot box truck, versus a semi-truck can be a lot more complicated, a lot more expensive, and it gets you in the trucking business. So I get it. It's the way to get your foot in the door without spending a ton of money. And so I wanted to look at and kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about in terms of logistically why I don't think box truck work is feasible in some markets. It may be more so in others, but at least the area I'm familiar with, it seems tough. So I'm from Southern California. I've mentioned it before. I live in, people call it a suburb of LA to the north. And then when you go there, the locals get mad when you tell them you're a suburb to LA. Anyway, so I have this set up for the LA market, 100-mile radius, which 100 miles out of LA is a long way and a lot of time if you consider the traffic. And so right now there's 13 matching loads. Box trucks are a little bit different because they tend to load at night. Their hours run a little different. And so what that does is sometimes during the day is when you see the loads and they disappear at night because that's when they're already being done. Versus a lot of your other work that works during the day, at night is when you book them for the best price. Anyway, so here's a load going 355 miles from Buena Park, California to Phoenix, Arizona. And so I just did a review on my last video of Phoenix. There's no box truck loads leaving Phoenix. I don't know why I struggled to say box truck. It's a tongue twister to me. So the scenario here is you're going to go to Phoenix for $540 at $1.53 a mile. How do you plan on getting back? What's your plan for coming back? Now, as I stated on the first clip, a lot of people ask when I post something either on Uber or Smart Hop or any of the other load boards that I use. Smart Hop isn't a load board, they're my dispatch service. I always get asked, do they work with box trucks? And the short answer to that is almost everyone works with box trucks, but the difference is they typically don't have a filter to separate just box truck. So what ends up happening is you need to go through the load board and filter partials and try to find a load that will fit your truck and your weight capacity. So as I stated earlier, if you're going to run a box truck, a lot of people are trying to get into them and run the non-CDL. So the issue with that is the non-CDL box truck has a gross vehicle weight rating not to exceed 26,000 pounds, and your empty vehicle weight is probably going to leave you where you can load 10 to 11,000 pounds. So you're restricted on size. You only have 26 by 8, let's say, 8 foot wide, 26 foot long, versus, my 53 by 8. So you're going to reduce yourself there. You're going to reduce yourself out of the market, is what I'm trying to say. So in terms of overall length, you only have 26 feet, so about half of what I have. I can load 45,000 in my truck, but you can only load 10, so you're like a fourth of what I can do. So you eliminate a whole bunch of loads in terms of possibilities, and now you're looking for something that fits. I'm not saying they don't exist, but you went from, hey, walk in there and pick up, every hay bale you see in there, to now you're looking for a needle in a haystack, because even if you do find loads in Phoenix coming back to LA or somewhere near Buena Park, now what you've done is you've gone to Phoenix, and not only are you having to find a partial that fits, you're trying to find one that's going in your same direction. What if you get to Phoenix and the only partial you can haul is going to Vegas or to, further away, Tucson, let's just say. And so do you take those loads, or you decide, I'm going to go back home empty, so that 543 that you got paid for the load is now going to be both ways. So 543, not for 355 miles, but all of a sudden it's for 710 miles. So your math isn't that you're $1.53 a mile. Your math is you're $1.78 per mile. I'm sorry, you're 78 cents a mile. All of a sudden that doesn't make sense, right? Anyway, so now the next load is out of, out of Bakersfield heading to Camarillo. Camarillo's close to where I live, but Bakersfield is not. So do I drive 90 miles to Bakersfield to go pick up this load to bring it back? Someone commented on one of my videos, I wouldn't deadhead that far to go pick up a load. But now what we're talking about is coming back empty, which is the same thing. You didn't deadhead to go pick up the load, but you're going to come back empty to bring one back. And so here's another load from Bakersfield heading to Stockton. So again, Bakersfield is technically within 100 miles of LA, but if you live in LA, it's not really feasible for you to drive all the way to Bakersfield to grab a load to take to Stockton and then come back to LA. Doesn't make much sense. So there's another Bakersfield Camarillo. There's a Bakersfield Simi Valley. Simi Valley is really close to where I live. That would be ideal, but I'm not going to drive to Bakersfield to pick it up. There's another Bakersfield Stockton. There's a Bakersfield Chino. So apparently Bakersfield is the hub where they have quite a bit of box truck. So if you live in the Bakersfield area, you've got loads. Looks like Fresno may have some too. So for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm going to open up this Bakersfield location just so you can see what I'm talking about. That's really weird. This makes it look like it's at a... Oh, okay, it's up here to the north. The pin drop is in the wrong place. The distribution center is here in the corner, and it must be a new one. because obviously this picture shows when they were first grading the location. So, okay, so this is the Bakersfield location for all intents and purposes. And as I always say, these locations tend to always be a short drive to an airport. That's kind of typical Amazon scenario, so they can move stuff back and forth. So, okay, this is where we are in Bakersfield. Now, if we scroll out, you're gonna have to excuse all my spots. When I had the rental business, I used to highlight my locations, my construction sites. So Bakersfield, you have Fresno up here to the north, and further north, you have Sacramento. That's where Sacramento is. This is where LA is, 100 miles away. So to give you an idea, that's where Bakersfield is relative to LA. So if you're in LA, looks like the most active box truck activity is in Bakersfield. You're not going to drive there every day to go work. You're just not. That will eat your profit. That will kill your day in terms of your clock, your ELD. That's not going to make one bit of sense for you. Okay? And so it's bizarre that they put it there, but maybe they figured we put it in Bakersfield, land is cheap, we build it cheap, and we'll probably find people that are starving for work, and they'll go out and buy box trucks and be willing to do this work for cheap. This is a philosophy that corporations take. Anyway, so that's the LA market. All right? I'm going to go ahead and do you guys a favor and try and show other markets just for the sake of showing them. I think I just did Sacramento and Phoenix. Let's see if there's anything in San Diego. No, that's Buena Park, which is actually up in the LA market. And so, okay. I want to say someone was asking for these locations anyways, so we're just doing box trucks today. But so there's 50 results here. Now, this first one is 14 miles away from Minneapolis, which isn't that big a deal. I mean, I would on a daily basis drive 14 miles, or I would find a place to park the truck close to that center if that's where the majority of my work is going to be. And I would use a little commuter car, something fuel efficient, getting 20, 30 miles to the gallon, instead of the box truck getting whatever, 8, 9. So this load is 162 miles, and it pays $1.99 a mile. The thing you got to ask yourself is, how are you going to get back from that 163-mile trip? How do you get home? If you come back deadheading, then you didn't make $1.99 a mile. You made 99.5 per mile. Here's another load, 229 on the miles, pays $1.70. You got another one going to Duluth, 154 miles for $1.98. You got 158 miles for $2.43 per mile. There's 163 miles for $2.43 per mile. At least that one's paying a little bit better per mile. But it does have multiple stops. Okay, that's something I hadn't really caught on to. These first ones are a simple one pick, one drop. You see how these other ones have a 1 through 4? And so there's multiple stops here. That's why it's paying a little bit more by the mile. So this is going to be one of those loads where they're stacking up the miles against you, and you're going to have multiple drops. We can look at it on the map here. So that's kind of going to be the route. Now, the question is, where you drop at number 4, what is there coming back? What are you going to have as a marketplace out there where you can pick up a load and bring it back? Now, not being familiar with the market, I couldn't really tell you what's in this particular city. Let me see if I can select it and just take a look and see if it's industrialized or are you out in the country somewhere. Looks like a pretty small community. Looks pretty rural. And so odds of you finding a box truck load to come out of there, pretty minimal. And so again, if you want to look at this from a business standpoint, consider, every time I consider a new business idea, I put together a business plan and I create a pitch for myself, like if I was going to pitch this idea to an investor. So convince yourself to invest this money into a business where half of your miles are going to be empty and you will not be compensated for them. That's what I'm really trying to get across to you guys. We have to consider your deadhead. So there's 163 miles at 243. There's 165 miles at 242. There's 163 at 215 per mile. There's 155 for 199 a mile. There's 120 for 134 a mile. There's 104 for 243 a mile. And again, these are all multiple drops. You see how there's a 5 on the second location you can see? That's pretty much telling you there's another 3 locations you're missing. So there's 136 miles for 235 a mile, 121 for 243 a mile, 123 for 206 a mile, 156 for 180 a mile. So 90 cents a mile is what you're going to overall net on that, because you're going to come back empty. So there's 162 for 174. And so, I know a lot of you guys think because you watched someone's video and the person's got the bling on, he's got the gold chain, and he's showing you he's got this box truck he bought, and he's making it seem like everything's great. You have to consider that person is trying to get you to click on his videos and click on more of his videos. You have to consider that person's business, especially if they have 50 to 100,000 followers and they upload a video and within a day they have 2,000 views. Those people are making more money on YouTube than they do trucking. That's the part that a lot of people don't consider, is if you have that kind of following, if you have that kind of advertising happening on your channel, you're making more money on your channel than you are on your business. So consider things are not as hunky-dory as they may appear in the video. Go back to some of those YouTubers and write on their comments, what do you do for a load coming back? How do you come back? Are you booking a load through a broker? Are you using a separate load board? Or are you deadheading back? That's kind of what I would look at. That's what I would consider. So let's grab this one just as a for example. Going to West Fargo, North Dakota. And maybe that's not too fair because I don't think Fargo's like a really big town, is it? I don't think I've ever been. It looked bigger than the last place we went to. So, West Fargo, North Dakota. Right? And where are we coming from? Maple Grove, MN. So let's flip this now. And let's just say we're trying to get back. Let's look for loads in West Fargo. This is what I would do with my 53-foot van. If I sent a truck there in, I would try to find something out, right? And there are no matches for box truck. So, okay, we're not going to find anything. Let's widen out the circle and see if we can find something else. Still no matches. Looks like the next closest one is 219 miles away. I'm not familiar with the area. Is that heading in the wrong direction or the right direction? Is this going to make your trip worse by taking you even further from home? You guys see what I'm getting at with this? You need to, with your trucks, connect the dots and make the loads work in a way that you're running from one load to the next, to the next, to the next. Right now, I am going to be dropping off the last load of a one pick, 3 drops. So I'm in the Houston area. I am picking up my next load 21 miles away, heading closer to my yard because I'm going to park the truck for a week to get some service done, and I'm going home for some personal reasons. But I'm not deadheading 300 miles to get a load. I'm deadheading 22. Now, for really good paying loads, I will deadhead more as long as my overall average or my all-in miles still end up over $3 a mile. So if my dispatcher would have said, hey, I got this load, you know, you're going to have to deadhead 150 miles, but it pays $4.70 a mile, I add my deadhead miles to my overall and then find my average. If that number's still over $3 a mile, I'm good with it. Biggest reason being my deadhead miles, even if they're not money makers, if my average comes out to $3 a mile, my deadhead miles are empty. And if I keep my speed under 65 and I'm empty, I'm getting better than 8 miles to the gallon. And so that's not as bad a hurt as if I had all loaded miles at $3 a mile, loaded to 80,000 pounds, and I'm getting 6.5 to 7. See the difference? With these box trucks, because most of them are gear ratioed really low, whether you're full or you're empty, you're pegging out your RPMs to do 65, 70 going down the highway, matching highway speeds, and you're still consuming a bunch of fuel. Basically what I'm saying, guys, is before you jump in, you want to look at these avenues of the box truck world to make sure you're going to cover your true expense. You know, looking at someone's YouTube channel where they're telling you it's this great thing, again, remember they're selling you the click. Their idea is to get you to click on their video because they're making money on the videos. There's a hotshotter that recently divulged that his hotshot business does not make money. It's operating at a loss. But the guy's got like 140,000 subscribers. He uploads a video and within a day it's got 5,000 views. The guy shared, I can't verify it, but he shared that he's making over $12,000 a month in YouTube revenue. So what's his real line of work? His hotshot business or the YouTube channel? Keep that in mind when you watch some of these guys, you know, glorified box truck videos where they're telling you everything's great. I'm not saying anyone in particular. I'm not trying to call anyone out or start any kind of YouTube drama. I'm just telling you to look at the angles that are not represented in the video. And the biggest one is deadheading home or deadheading to the next load. There is a video that someone uploaded where he shows like the first 3 feet of his box truck has been converted to a sleeper. I don't remember whose it was. It's actually a pretty cool idea. It looks like his is pretty well done. You know, the fit and finish looks, you know, it looks finished. It looks insulated. He's got carpeting. He's got sound deadening. You know, it's got a bed. He's got a little air conditioner. He's got a microwave. He's got a generator. You know, he set himself up right so that he can chase these longer hauls. And if he needs to rack out in the truck till the next load, he can do so. Versus if you get one of these Penske trucks with a regular cab, you know, keep that in mind when you go look at the truck. You may be sleeping there. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. I hope this opens up some insight as to the other parts of the industry that maybe you're not considering if you're thinking about jumping into this business. I hate to see you guys dump 20 grand to start this up, and then you realize at the end of the day, you were doing much better in your regular job than you're going to be doing with box vans. Let me just say, if you've managed to save 20 grand at a regular job, your regular job's probably doing you pretty well. You're going to struggle to save and put away 20 grand that's legitimately saved and isn't part of your maintenance fund or money you're putting aside for taxes. If this is legitimately money that you can put aside, you know, that's not committed to anything else, you're probably doing a little bit better on your regular job than you will with box trucks. At least that's my opinion. Anyways, guys, as always, thanks for watching. I hope the video is informative. It may not be what you want to hear, but that's my outlook on it. That's my perspective.